By George, I think I've got it.
Hybrothetical Thinking.
I saw that Bigfoot walking across the screen and I thought to myself, wow, they are real.
I ask us all, is that really reasonable?
Hybrothetical Thinking.
My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
And show you a little of the evidence.
Hybrothetical Thinking.
Researchers at Stanford University School of Medicine have pioneered a cancer vaccine that eliminated all traces of cancer in mice.
You could find evidence of that, my friends. You could change the world.
Hybrothetical Thinking, a podcast for the hypothetical thinker.
Greetings, travelers, and welcome to another episode of Hybrothetical Thinking, a semi-informative podcast that explores the journey from probability to possibility. My name is Nick Floyd, and I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Taylor,
Johnny. And the way this works, for those who didn't listen to last week's episode, is that Taylor or myself will do the research for our weekly episodes, and then Johnny will go into every episode completely blind, which means he has no idea what we are or will cover each week. But
he knows nothing.
He knows zero things.
I don't know anything about anything.
Believe it or not. But before we jump into this, Taylor is actually going to be hosting the episode today, which I'm very excited about.
Whoop whoop.
Before we jump into this, though, there's one piece of news that was just too good to not share. Now, granted, this actually was only posted on Fox News' page, so it's already discredited slightly, but it's just too good of a story.
What a blow.
To ignore. So the headline of the story is Creepy Military Voicemail Warning of Impending Doomsday Sends Internet into Meltdown.
I've read a little bit about this.
I've heard nothing.
Yes,
Surprisingly,
you have?
I've heard nothing about this.
This was a voicemail, and the guy he posted it all on on Twitter, right?
Yeah, so he put it. So apparently, random Twitter users, completely random Twitter users' phones have been sent this message, this Morse code, essentially, that when translated said, "Danger, SOS, it is dire for you to evacuate. Be cautious, they are not human. SOS, danger, SOS.
I have heard this.
And people are saying that it's like an alien invasion. Some people are saying it's related to the Malaysian flight 370 that...
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I heard.
Did it not also contain coordinates?
It did contain...
I guess we're somewhat like a relative position to where that plane went
crashed,
down?
yeah.
Yes, so it did contain the coordinates. And then they one of the users who tweeted about it got a message in Indonesian that said, "End the post you just shared about the recording in your phone."
Whoa! I didn't hear about any of the replies.
Cover up, almost.
Yeah,
creepy.
Which is crazy. And then it even went as far as another Morse code sequence, a numerical sequence that said, "They are taking over. The message received is well related to the Stephen Hawking's death. You are not ready to face them."
Whoa! It's related to that death. They're saying.
Yeah, they're saying that it's related to Stephen Hawking, and apparently Stephen Hawking said that before he passed away, which I couldn't find any of this on the internet, but before he passed away, he said, "We are going to make contact this year with aliens," which is crazy.
So they killed him, and then that's what you're saying is that they essentially killed him because he said that.
Listen, I'm not saying much of what I'm not.
Abraham Lincolned him, and then all of a sudden, is that too soon? Sorry. Anyway,
I don't know. Or he pulled the plug because it's like, oh man, he sees something coming.
He's like, I don't want to be part of this.
Man, oof.
It's crazy.
That would be a worst case scenario.
It would be. And the numerical sequences as well also allude to April 18th as a day of reckoning, rapture, or the day when they were going to quote unquote take over.
It's 2 days before 420.
Yeah.
April 18th.
That's a weird
It's
day.
crazy. But the last thing that happened was that another Twitter base peer received another automated voicemail. Except his recording features a lengthy message about aliens before the voice launches into the NATO phonetic alphabet. The voicemail says, "This is not a test. This is not a joke. Over the past several years, we have been wanting to send an automated voice message to people who understand and are not afraid. One message at a time will make many know the truth that other biological beings have been walking the supreme creation that sustains life.
Oh, my God.
Earth. And it just keeps going on and on and on. But some people are saying that it's like a alternate reality complex puzzle similar to Cicada 3301, which was a group of hackers that did some crazy shit a long time ago. And then the last little piece, Lunar Rabbits pinned a tweet dated March 17th, which suggests that it could be an AR game. And the tweet said, this event is nowhere related to catastrophic events. 18th of April is definitely safe. All other accounts are impersonating. Reason to hold this event is to help people solve an upcoming global cicada event. Reason to hold this event is to aware people with knowledge. Yeah, take it for what it is. But crazy.
Much less cool. Yeah, I wish it was some crazy message from aliens. I'm ready, but
I'm ready. Take
then
me
again,
now.
my LG Stylo 2 may not be ready to receive that message.
But I'm pretty. I got really nervous and kind of scared from it when I read it, but because the one Twitter user Ty, who this all originated from, essentially was tweeting, "There's a man outside my house. He was taking pictures of outside my house." The
Seems kind of nutty.
Just sounds like a real estate appraiser.
It seems.
I also noticed that in those same Twitter threads, the main dude who's deciphering all this stuff, it's all pretty much one dude who was coming up with these awesome ideas in the thread that I read.
Right.
So geez, what a creative dude who possibly has something to do with it. I don't know.
I think the biggest thing is that the most fascinating part of it all is the connection to the Malaysian Flight 370, which we're going to have an episode about because it needs to be discussed. And I think they're saying that the MH370 flight vanished due to it making contact with something that wasn't human. We'll leave it at that. I don't know how true that is. We won't have a whole episode about this right this second, but this news was just interesting enough that, in our future, we're going to have an episode solely based about the Malaysian flight that disappeared, which is still, to me, the craziest story of the last decade.
That was 5-6 years ago?
I'm into that.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah, it's bonkers. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. I wanted to share that with the listeners because I found it insane and I've been waiting to talk to you about it. But yeah, without further ado, I think now that the news is out, I don't want to spend too much time in it because I'm very excited about what we're talking about today.
I have no idea.
Taylor, I'm going to pass the torch over to you. Let's get this shit rolling because I am amped, fired, ready to roll, ready to party. My dick's out.
Dick's out, ready to work.
Throw that in there. My dick's out. Ready to work.
Confabulation.
It's not actually out.
A disturbance of memory defined as the production of fabricated, distorted, or misinterpreted memories about oneself or the world without the conscious intention to deceive. Now, Johnny, you've heard of the Mandela Effect, correct?
I've heard of it. You have to explain to me the definition so I really could get a grasp on it, but I've heard of it, yeah.
Tell us what you've heard about Mandela Effect so far.
I don't. I honestly, just by naming the effect, I'll give you an example. If you were to tell me the description of it and give me 5 different butterfly effect, Mandela Effect, I probably could label it out, but you're putting me in the spot here.
Right.
I'm gonna sound like a dumbass, but I don't know off the top of my head. Give me a rough description.
Okay. Rough description.
Wait, Johnny goes, the butterfly effect. Isn't that movie with Ashton Kutcher?
in the bathtub and
the mailbox blows up? Yeah.
And the kids in the basement?
It's an Ashton Kutcher movie.
No.
The Kutch.
What I'm saying is that I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I don't. Also, viewers, I want you to know, all I have in front
They're
of me
not watching us, Johnny.
Okay, listeners.
It's a podcast.
Everyone's watching. Listeners, all I can tell you is I have a piece of paper in front of me. It's all I have. So I don't have any ability to look it up online. I'm only relying on these two dudes to give me information. So Taylor, enlighten me. What is the Mandela Effect?
Confabulation. A disturbance of memory identified as the production of fabricated or misinterpreted memories about oneself or the world.
Oh my God.
Without the conscious intention to deceive.
It was that.
It was basically that.
Now I just feel like a dumbass. You actually gave me the description and afterwards asked me what it was, and I said, if you could give me the description, I could probably tell you what it was. And you gave me the description. Well, I'm flustered and a little red and embarrassed. So move on.
So Johnny, the Mandela Effect that we're talking about is the common misremembrance of very common items in our everyday life.
So you forget about
or
something?
Events that may or may not have happened in our past.
So what you're saying is that the Mandela Effect is when you forget about something. It's like Alzheimer's. You forget about
kind of like Alzheimer's,
name.
yeah. And you fabricate these memories. But what's weird about the Mandela Effect is these fabricated memories other people have these same exact fabricated memories.
Wait. So it's
To,
the opposite.
like down to the minute details.
Wait, so it's the opposite of Alzheimer's. So you're saying I would remember something super vividly, and other people would, but it never happened.
Never happened.
Oh, well, that's the opposite of Alzheimer's. That's like, I'm sorry. That's the opposite.
Yeah, it's called the Mandela Effect, Johnny.
Yeah,
Okay,
I blindly acted like I knew what Alzheimer's is.
If I had the
and just said
description,
yes,
oh,
but-
you don't? Sorry, well, that's just not. If I had the description for me, I probably could tell you what the Mandela Effect was, but I can't because I don't have it.
It sounds like you're saying Manila Effect.
Isn't it the vanilla? The vanilla effect.
That's that Tom Cruise picture.
Vanilla. Is this Milli Vanilli? Okay, so okay, I understand.
So, Johnny, here's some common Mandela effects that you may or may not be familiar with.
Okay,
Luke, I am your father, from the movie Star Wars. You're
wait.
pretty familiar with that line.
Yes, I'm a dumbass, but I'm not a dumb.
You've heard it a
dumbass.
million times, correct?
Yeah, I've said it. A couple
What's that?
times. I've said it a couple times.
You said it probably 1,000 times. And you're 100% positive it's Luke, I am your father.
Luke, I am your father.
I am your father.
Wait, Luke,
Correct?
I am your father.
Luke, I am your father. Just like that. Like you can picture Chris Farley in the movie Tommy Boy saying that into the fan, saying, Luke, I am your father.
I'm
Countless
remembering
shows
back to
have repeated it.
Mark Hamill, sorry. I'm sorry. Tom Cruise is in my head. Give me a break, Nick. All
You're
right,
welcome.
So you're welcome. So here's
Damn.
Luke.
Just
I am
answer
your
the
father.
question.
Yes, that's it. That's
Okay.
what it is.
That's it. 100%. Yeah.
But it's
But
not.
that
what
is
you're
not
saying.
the line. That is a common Mandela effect. The line is actually, no, I am your father.
Oh, you're right. And you're right.
Yeah.
And you're right. And
But
you're
literally everyone would remember, Luke, I am your father.
right. Yeah. I get that. Is that because people have just
Well-
like input that? And so therefore
Yeah, it's just it's so infused in pop culture. You know, it's been repeated so many times.
I don't know if
think.
I would consider that something that like okay. So in my opinion, and this is before going anything further, I wouldn't put that as far as for like like this Mandela effect that I don't have the description again, but I wouldn't consider it that already just because like I've heard other people say it, right? And whoever created it saying Luke instead of no did that, and then we all it's like a trend. I don't know if it's necessarily a memory. I would say like I would consider a memory of this Mandela effect like, oh, I obviously met this guy, I've seen him 1,000 times and I know him, but I haven't. This is like a phrase, you know. I don't know if I consider it the same thing.
Well, that's where it gets
Right.
interesting. I think the more Taylor digs into it, I think you're going to see that. Yeah, sure. I think we're starting with a line.
All right.
It's sort of like a peer group thing where because everyone else has said it, it's probably like one
Yeah.
fucking guy.
Common line
Yeah.
that everybody knows that line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So what about, here's another line for you. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? So you know that from, was that Snow White?
Yeah, interpreted by
You've
Laura
heard that
Farquaad
1,000
in
times.
Shrek.
You've heard it repeated in many, many times, many movies. Is it not
Shrek.
repeated in Shrek, I believe?
I just said that.
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah, by Laura
Oh, you
Farquaad,
said-
whose name is Laura Farquaad because the creators said, "Oh, it's close to Lord Fuckwad." Let's just say that right now.
Is that a
Fuckwad.
true thing?
Yeah, I think so.
He's
I-
Fuckwad.
at least the Mandela effect. I believe that because somebody told me that.
That's not how the Mandela effect works.
Okay, I don't.
Listen, we're like 14 minutes in. We got a long journey to go.
All right, let's dig some deeper. All right. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
Yeah. Is that the phrase as you know it?
I said it. That's my memory. Yeah.
Yeah, so the phrase is actually magic mirror on the wall. Easy common one to confuse. But you've
one
heard it
word.
1,000 times. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
that's
You
the
could ask
same-
10 people on the street, 8 of them would say mirror, mirror on the wall. That's an assumption.
And the other two are liars. Okay, give me
The
some
other
more.
2 are liars. Yeah, the other 2 have watched Mandela Effect videos.
They've watched.
Right.
All right, give me some more.
Another one? How about another Star Wars one?
Okay.
The fact that C-3PO has always had one silver leg.
See,
no, he
I-
hasn't.
That's a common...
yeah.
He's always had
exactly,
one
yeah. I mean...
they weren't both gold.
he's always had one silver leg, for sure. Yeah, he always has.
Well, that was
But
more of a,
not a lot of people remember that.
that was more of a Mandela
Most
effect.
people have always known him as a completely gold character.
Yeah, that was a Mandela effect, though, I think before The Force Awakens, because they really focused on that.
Yeah.
Because it was when...
Yeah, they
it-
really kind of hammer it home.
Yeah, well, when they put the Blu-rays out. So it was always silver, but the thing is, like, film was so grainy back in the 70s when Star Wars came out that
Back in my day.
it like you couldn't really see the color. And then when they released them on Blu-ray, that's when people were like, "Holy shit, he has a silver leg!" Like
he wasn't
that's
even a
crazy.
robot this whole time. He was a real human. This film tricked me into thinking he was a robot.
Yeah, and then Force Awakens, like they really focused on like when it was very prominently silver, like it was very silver, and so
Wow,
that is a Mandela effect now. Like 2-3 years ago, before Force Awakens came out, it was still crazy for people, but now they focus on it more.
What? If you would have told me that several years ago or whatever, I'd be like, hey, "You're an idiot. No way. He's got a silver leg. He's gold. Everybody knows that.
You're stupid."
If I may,
yeah, you're an idiot, and get out of my face for it.
Get out of my face. If I may, this is a little tidbit. They do say, I don't know who they are, but they say that the memories you remember the clearest are often altered by your mind. Like the memories you have from your childhood that are so vivid, you've changed. So I think this
very good point.
Easily play a role. No, that's a fact. Don't give me that look, Nick. I've heard this, and I believe it too, because I've told some stories from my childhood or whatever, some deep dark stories. Anyways, and they've been different. Somebody else who was there experiencing it has a different experience, or has like a picture from it, or like a video from like a fan video, and it's like nothing that I imagined, but your brain makes it reality. It makes it truth, even though it's not.
Right.
You know?
It's almost like the act of remembering it over and over.
Exactly.
Like each time you remember it, you contort it a little bit. Maybe you add something, maybe you take something away. Yeah. And over time, it's contorted a pretty good bit. And it's kind of like a fabrication of, combination of
like
what you wanted it to be or did not want it to be and what it really was.
So the hypotheticals of this are going to be really fascinating. And I can't wait to jump into that part of the podcast. But
tune in.
Before that, I want to know what we know. So Taylor, I want to know what exists about the Mandela effect that helps break it down, because my mind's going crazy. Like, I knew we were going to cover this topic, but I purposely didn't do any research because I want to learn about this and I want to understand, how it all started.
Well, there are several ways you can look at it. You can look at it really rationally, and you can say it's a logo's thing. People change their logos. People change their names. It's a brand thing. It has to happen. Businesses may have one name while their brand has another. Maybe the difference is only in spelling. But where it all started, apparently at some point in 2009, in a green room in a convention center, I believe in California, Fiona Broome coined the phrase, the Mandela Effect. And basically she was having a conversation in this green room with a couple of congoers, and they were talking about former South African President Nelson Mandela. If you don't know anything about Nelson Mandela, he was arrested in 1962, sentenced to life in prison for his conspiracy to overthrow South African government.
Okay.
In 1990, he was released by the president of South Africa due to civil unrest and popular demand. And then the president agreed to organize a democratic election. He then won that election and was the first black head of state. And he served as the president from 1994 until 1999, when he then retired. In 2011, he was hospitalized with respiratory illnesses, and then he died in 2013. The popular belief and memory that was alive in this room when Fiona Broome was having this conversation is that he actually died in the late 80s. And there was a high percentage of people in the room who had that same memory, and they would swear, no way, he died in the late 80s. Thus, creating the Mandela Effect.
But he died in 2013, supposedly.
Yeah, he actually died in 2013. This is a weird one, too, because I have like a vague like Mandela effect with this effect from Nelson Mandela.
Whoa, Inception.
So, yeah, oddly enough, the existence of this Mandela effect and the way it has affected me makes me view the Mandela effect in a really logical way. That it's, like I said a second ago, like building upon remembering something. Like, I remembered a false fact about something, and I built on that the next time I thought about it.
I've done it so
Next
many
time
times.
I thought about it again, I built on it with more false facts, and it became something that I was just completely wrong about.
Some fake news.
So 2009.
It's fake news.
2009 is when the Mandela effect
Well, she coined it.
She coins it in 2009 before he even died. Yeah, exactly.
So before, I mean, obviously, like Fiona Broome had this sort of idea. So there was a study of what to call this, because when you're trying to explain it to people, you're like, oh, what's this thing that, like, you know, you kind of remember something that didn't exist, and then, okay, let's just put a name on it, shall we? Let's just call, what do we, well, we can't call it the Shazaam effect. Let's call it the Mandela effect.
Shazam.
I wish.
Very close. Shazam. Well,
We'll get to Shazam. Shazam is probably the number one Mandela effect in my mind. It's really the only one that I cannot wrap my fucking head around.
We just segued to that so easily.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we're ready to jump into it, but I'm just saying.
Well, so
clearly she studied it.
Well,
like it was a study that
so they're
existed.
actually having an active conversation. It must have been just a random conversation about Nelson Mandela. Oddly enough,
isn't he dead? No, he's not dead. Whoa, but you believe that? I think that's what happened. Like, she was
collectively, it was like
exactly. Yeah.
Remember that guy who died?
And someone around is like, "What?
Dead.
No, yeah, he's definitely dead." And then they probably double check with somebody else.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
Yeah, he's dead. Blah 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 blah.
So
let me explain how it works in my mind and how I use it to rationalize the Mandela effect overall. So, in the late 80s, 1988, 89, 1990, that was around the time that there was a lot of civil unrest in South Africa, a lot of political stuff going on. Free Nelson Mandela, free Nelson Mandela. So it's like an actual thing in America. It's a big campaign. Free Nelson Mandela, freedom, democracy. So as a young child, I was born in 1985. As a young child, I'm 5 years old. You're seeing this thing. My last name just happens to be Nelson. So I hear this guy, Nelson Mandela. He's famous.
It's
what?
My uncle.
I'm probably related to this guy, right?
Killer, you started this whole chain.
So I take note, right? I just know that Nelson Mandela is a thing that exists and that there was a big commotion right around 88, 89, 90. So he probably died, or else what's the big deal, right? So in my mind, that was already a fabricated little memory. Fast forward to, let's say, 1998, 1999. I'm 7th, 8th grade, probably taking social studies classes. He is now the president of South Africa, and he's retiring. So in a social studies class, we would probably talk about that. His name probably came up at some point, in 97, 98, 99 in my class. And I remember him, oh shit, I thought he was dead. I thought he died when I was a little kid.
That's so
Not that I wasn't still a little kid, but... So another compounded false memory.
And you were part of
that. And then
that.
fast forward to 2017 when you start hearing this, Mandela Effect stuff. I'm like, yeah, I totally believe, because that same shit happened to me.
It's crazy. It's crazy because it's almost like mixed logic, where like the logic was there that Nelson Mandela actually passed away during all the civil unrest that was happening back in the 80s. So it makes sense that he would have passed away in the midst of all that, because it was a tough time, it was a harsh time, and and
as a little kid, like the
sense.
only things that matter really are like death and like cool holidays. So like some big, somebody making a big deal out of something, it's like, well, yeah, of course he probably died,
right? But
so you just form that memory in your head, like big thing happened. I equated that to death, so yeah he died.
Well, the crazy thing I think is there's a part of me that's like, okay, well, it's logic. Like logic makes sense. So it's like, okay, it's a logical connection to this person. Mm-hmm. But then you think about the other Mandela effects that exist, and it's not logic; it's memory, and that's where it's
exactly. Yeah,
it's so interesting because it's like, I mean, there's a couple, and I know we'll get into it later, but like Taylor, there's a specific Mandela effect that isn't actually cited online, but it's something that you and I discussed, and that we polled a few people on that involves a movie called Congo that we'll talk about later.
Oh.
But
oh my goodness,
we've created that Mandela effect, and I think with the logic side of things, it's just based on memory, and I think so many things in the world exist that are similar to others that it's almost like your brain putting one memory with another memory, molding those memories together, and that's what creates a Mandela effect, because you remember one thing one way, but you're actually stuck in the middle trying to remember both things.
Validate both of them, and they just become one thing.
Right.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah, you get to the point where it's like, well, either one could be right. It's they both look correct to me, or they both look wrong to me.
exactly. But like I said, diving deeper into this. I mean, we're only a half an hour in now, but like diving deeper into this, it's going to get even crazier, even past the point. Like the Nelson Mandela situation of him passing away in the 80s. It's a logical connection where, like, when it existed, there was logic there. So it goes, okay, this just makes sense. But there are other Mandela effects that just don't make sense, and it's not logic. It's not the two memories molding together. There's something that just doesn't make any damn sense, and we'll get more into it.
I need an example of that.
Here's one that blows my fucking mind, Johnny. I don't know if it's going to blow your mind the way it blows.
I wanted to so bad.
I don't know if it's going to blow your mind like it does mine, but here's just another simple one for you to chew on for a second.
I'll chew on it.
So, the Queen song, We Are the Champions, right?
Yeah.
We are the champions. Now, you've sung that song a quadrillion times, am I right?
Yeah. Every time I score a goal, I say that because I'm the
Yeah,
best.
every time you came out victorious, you came out on top, you sang that song.
It's been a couple times.
How does that song end? Do you remember how the song ends?
Of the world.
Yeah, we are the champions
of the world. And he's
of
like,
the world. Yeah. Right?
Yeah,
it ends with that. That's how it ends.
Mercury just like whispering it to the world, like a little like
of the world. Yeah, super
then,
badass.
Isn't there a guitar?
And you've
at the end
practiced
of
it 1,000 times.
Yeah, in the mirror, I've looked at
But
myself.
Johnny, that shit never existed.
You're
it's not
wrong,
real.
Johnny.
It's fabricated.
No.
In your mind, Johnny.
I won't believe you on
you
that.
You made that
one.
shit up.
No way.
Not only did you make that shit up, but you agreed every time somebody else told you that shit was true.
I've heard him say that.
You're wrong. Queen fucked you,
I feel like
Johnny.
I had to, Johnny.
Wait,
I
is
felt
that
like I had to.
Wait. Is that mid-song then?
No.
He never says it ever?
It does happen mid-song. It does happen mid-song.
But that's not the end of the song.
Of the world, we'll keep on fighting. I believe that happens. I don't know. I didn't double check.
But wait. Can we like pull up?
I'm pulling up.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm about to get my mind fucked.
Yeah, hey, Jamie, pull that up.
Because we are the champions
It's Joe
of
Rogan,
the world. And then it goes again. We are the champions, my friends, and they'll keep a fight till the end. We are the champion. No time for losers because we are the champions. And that's the last lyric.
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh, I can hear it now.
Oh my god,
it happens twice in the song, two times.
Yeah. That's why is that point, the crescendo. I'm sounding like my old band professor. It crescendos all the way up here, then he goes, "Of the world, the champions," and he goes into the next verse or whatever it is, and this ends on champions.
I still don't hear it in my head.
I just hear it now.
I don't,
and it makes sense.
Freddie Mercury. Listen, if you were here right now, you and I would have a conversation together.
I need you right now, Freddie.
We got something to talk about.
Me,
Square
you,
up.
and we are the champions.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and when we're talking about just remembering shit, it's probably a good time to pull up that logo test I passed to you.
Okay,
and,
we got a logo
just discuss the results of this logo test.
Can you explain?
Now, for the listeners at home, I provided Johnny with a massive sample size of different brand logos, and each one has two different versions, and Johnny has to decide which version of the logo is the correct official logo and not one that has been tampered with this Mandela Effect.
Oh boy.
And
So Johnny,
yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, so and just to clarify and reiterate, the point of you doing this is to see if my brain or the Mandela Effect has affected me, or I've seen these logos as false, or I've seen these in a different way or altered, and my brain has just made them a reality.
For me, it's like how easily it is to accept any one of these logos as the correct logo, and like why. Like you may look at one and be like the marketing genius in you might say, "Oh yeah, 2 O's in Fruit Loops, obviously. What the fuck?" Somebody else might look at it as a marketing genius and say,
was that not
UI,
it? With
because
the 2
it's fucking
O's
Fruit
not real?
Loops, you idiot.
Wait.
You know what I mean?
Are you telling me the 2 O's weren't real? Oh
well, maybe we should go through these answers.
Oh my god, I'm about to lose my balls.
So let's
All
Taylor,
right, Johnny.
I'm gonna lose my
set
ass
it up.
on this.
Set each logo up. And while you're doing this with Johnny, I'm going to pull up a couple. There's like 2 or 3 Mandela effects that I want to talk about after that like messed me up. Like
This
I
is
lost
actually-
sleep
this
over
is
it.
Fun. This is fun.
So all right.
This.
Logo number 1, we have the famous Kit Kat bar. Now, Johnny, in column A, we have Kit Kat, spelled Kitkat. Dash is absent. No dash.
Hyphen.
Then in
as it
column
were.
B, we have Kit Kat separated by a dash. Which one do you
Hyphen.
think is the correct logo?
I said B.
You said B on that. You'd be wrong.
What?
There is no dash in the Kit Kat logo.
No way.
That's what I said, man.
This is the shit nightmares are
And
made
we're going
of.
to compare scores.
Dude, my brain.
We're gonna
I'm
compare
not
scores
kidding.
'cause,
I need to take my hat off. 1 second. I'm freaking out.
Right?
So wait,
I mean, you feel like you've seen Kit Kat with a dash.
I ate one,
that
like, yesterday.
Seems natural, right?
I had a Kit Kat.
Right?
I had a dark chocolate Kit Kat today, and I knew this episode was coming, and I still put B.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Oh, my head.
exactly.
Oh, my head. Okay.
It just,
We're just
I don't
one
know.
logo
It
in.
looks better. Maybe Kit Kat should take that into consideration. It
here's my
does
perfect
look
score.
better.
Give the people what
They
they want.
I think technically, a few weeks ago at one of the cons, we actually looked up the purpose of dashes and hyphens.
Hyphen.
And I believe I could confirm that this is a situation that you would use a dash.
It absolutely is.
So
But it's all
they're
about
probably
it's
wrong in this situation.
It's all about
I
style.
stand by that. Yeah,
The
it's
dash.
got flash, it's got pizzazz. Come on, Kit Kat.
All right, this
All right,
Kit Kat.
so moving on to the second one here.
The Kit Kat one, it
We're
pissed me
all
off.
familiar with this bad boy. Chick-fil-A.
Well,
See, I know this one.
So,
I don't. See,
yeah, on the
where
left, we've got Chick-fil-A spelled C-H-I-C, no K. And in column B, we have C-H-I-C-K.
Now, I will say, I've only eaten Chick-fil-A like 10 times in my life. Where
we
I'm
had it 2
from.
days ago.
We did, but I didn't look at the.
Johnny, tell
it
us
just-
where you're from again.
All right, I'm from Grand Haven, Michigan. Shout out to the West
Grand
Coast.
Haven, Michigan. Apparently, Chick-fil-A needs to check out Grand Haven, Michigan.
Well, I'll tell you
Fun
what.
fact about Grand Haven, Michigan, it's one of the happiest places to live in
It
the
was
whole fucking world,
just-
Jonathan
it
Clark.
was- it
Don't
was-
said it 15 times today. I heard
I
it too many.
John-
I didn't
Clark
say
said it.
Okay, I said it was rated one of the happiest cities, like waterside cities in America.
Yeah, there's like 10 waterside cities in America.
Every coast has a city. Malibu.
Yeah, and
It
they're
was
all
voted-
depressing.
Yeah.
Voted by the city council on their own website.
No, it was like some magazine and then a TV.
Yeah, it was a
thing.
Michigan-based magazine.
No, it was some like beach.
Yeah, it certainly
It
wasn't
was
Southern Living.
It was a beach magazine, and then some kind of like TV brought it up. I disagree with it. I think Grand Haven people are fine, but like, all right, move on. All right, Chick-fil-A. So, shout out to
Chick-fil-A.
Michigan. All right, I said A, no K.
You said A with no K?
Yeah.
Boy, you wrong, buddy.
Wait. Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you, fella.
There's a K in Chick-fil-A?
Why is there a K in Chick-fil-A?
We can go to the Googles right now.
A chick.
That's a filthy lie.
Wait, is chick? Can you find it online for me?
Oh, my God. No. Oh. What the fuck?
Oh,
Wait.
oh my God.
Wait, is it not?
we
Is it
got
really
people's
not?
heads spinning right now. Your world is flipped upside down.
We just ate a Chick-fil-A, and every time I type it into my GPS,
You say it without a K.
I type it without a K every single
You
time.
made fun of me for not seeing it, Nick.
Oh, I'm
not
getting
even
red
from
hot.
the South.
I'm getting red
All
hot.
right, guys. Think about this, guys.
Dude, this
Apparently, in the printing world, red is the most expensive color to print, right? If you have the opportunity to chop off one big-ass red letter off your sign, why would you not do it? Come on, Chick-fil-A. Get your head in the game.
But they're rolling in money, which
They got the best.
that
This
K,
is deceptive.
that K is basically Chick-fil-A going, we know we're the shit, so we can afford a K on our red side.
Check it. That's expensive.
Yeah, we got K's on the sign.
I actually am like, Taylor, I've gotten everything wrong so far, and I was really expecting to get 100%. I swear to God, if this next one's wrong, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, man. I don't even know what to tell you anymore, Johnny. I don't even know what's right and wrong anymore.
I can't
They all
do
look
this.
right to me. That's what's so
my
fucked
God.
up about this thing. They all look right.
I was not
But
prepared for this podcast.
let's move on to number 3 there, Johnny.
All right, let's go.
So we move on to the famed Fruit Loops. Column A, we have F-R-U-I-T. And on the right, column B, we have F-R-O-O-T.
I
And
got
the
this one.
O's are fashioned with little animations of Fruit Loops.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which one do you think is correct there, John?
I said B. Pretty strong. I'm pretty strongly convinced by it. Fruit
Strong
Loops.
with B.
Yeah.
Double O.
4 O's total.
Nick, you're strong with B or A?
I am strong with the double O.
Strong with the double O. The graphic designer is strong in you both. That is the correct answer.
I have anxiety in my chest right now. Like it
I feel like with
hurts.
that one, it's like, yeah, of course that's what it should be when you look at them.
Yeah, they're messed up.
I don't know. I feel like I always remember it just being spelled fruit with UI and then having the thought to myself,
All right.
it should be spelled with 2 O's.
All right, for the first time, Nick and I don't
But-
suck. Next one.
Guess I was wrong. Fabricated. So the next one, Johnny, this is all you, buddy. This is cars,
Yeah.
bud.
Yeah,
We got a VW logo. In the A column, we have a VW that is separated by a little dash. So the V and the W are not one solid piece, but they are separated and stacked.
Let it be known,
On the
I'm not a
B-side,
car guy. I'm not a car
VW.
guy. Just wanted
As
that to be
far
known.
as the 3 dudes in this podcast go,
Yeah, I'm the
Johnny,
most knowledgeable.
I think is a car guy.
But that doesn't say much. I'm not a car guy. I just know how to say Porsche. It's not Porsche, it's Porsche. I just know that.
Which is actually another Mandela effect.
No, it's not.
Actually pronounced Porsche.
No,
Johnny.
I've looked it up.
That
No,
is an actual Mandela
no,
effect.
No, the actual the guy who created was a Mansell Porsche. I can't look his name up, but his name was pronounced Porsche. Look it up on YouTube. You can find it. I'm positive.
Tomato, potato.
Yeah,
It's
we're also
all
talking
good.
about
Potato?
the English
Same thing.
pronunciation here, bud.
Potato, tomato. All right. VW
So,
with the
so
line.
Johnny, which one are you picking here with the VW?
I did A. I did A with the line.
You did A with the line?
Wait, you know what?
What do you say there, Nick?
Wait. You know what? Oh, fuck. Oh, I'm double guessing myself. I can't. I'll just pick A. I can't do it.
A.
Nick.
Yeah, it's A. I drive a Volkswagen.
You own one.
I own a Volkswagen. No. Wait. There is no line. It's B.
Yeah. Wait. Can you even say before I answer? I'm like
Final
split, 'cause
answer.
It makes
B.
sense for A. I'm gonna go B.
So you're both going B?
I've been looking at it too long now. That's the thing. I'm gonna go.
Okay,
B.
I agree.
Let's just do it.
I think B is the logical answer. I feel like that's the way I've always seen it. I feel like that's the way it should be. I feel like the line is like, what? You missed an opportunity to be slightly more creative? Like, we get that it's a V and a W.
It's like the X-Men
No reason
logo.
to put the line. But
Oh my gosh.
it is indeed the logo with
Why did
the line.
Dude, my teacher always told me always
Is
go with your
indeed.
first guess. I never. Oh, I suck.
All right, let's just get through. We got like 5 more. Let's roll through these.
Man, I had it in the bag.
So, Jif or Jiffy? Peanut butter.
I said A. Jif.
Jif.
Jif and Jif, you guys are both correct. You know your peanut butters, boys.
Oh, you bet your bottom dollar.
I
I
almost
know
got the
my
last
peanut
three
butter.
right. Fuck VW. I'm so mad
Now,
at
that
myself.
one, I could have gone either way. I don't know. I eat a lot of peanut butter, but I could have gone either way. Now, this next one, it really taps my ass. I'm not going to lie. On the left,
even mean?
on the left, we have Totino's. On the right, we have Tostinos. Now, if you're familiar with this company, if you're not familiar with this company, get familiarized. It's the best frozen pizza on the market. It's the best value for your money. They sell over 1 million pizzas per day. That is not a fabrication, people.
That is not a
million?
Mandela effect. That is actual fact.
That is an actual fact. Totino's, which one are you going with, bud?
I went with A. Totino's, not Toast.
Went with A. Oh, man. Nick?
Wait, what does that mean?
It's Totino's, and I have Tim and Eric to thank for that.
What?
A.
What?
A. Final answer.
What?
Okay, that's a win for both of you guys, and I'm proud of you
Yeah.
both.
Can I just remind you guys? I was
Totino's
almost like 3
holds
for
a
3.
special place in my heart.
God, that
As
VW.
any pizza lover knows, it's a good quality product, and it doesn't get the respect it deserves. Moving on, we got Captain Crunch. We got 2 different spellings here. Column A, C-A-P, apostrophe N, Crunch. Column B, we have Captain spelled out the right way, and Crunch. What are you talking, Johnny? Which one are you picking?
I'm picking B.
Picking B.
Captain.
Nick?
Captain. A.
Nick's picking A. So we have our first separation as far as answers go. And looks like Nick takes that one.
I'm a cereal
Captain.
guy. What can I say?
Captain.
I will say I never
You and the
ate that
Captain make it
cereal.
happen.
I'm a cereal
older
guy.
brother.
All right,
I
guys, on to this
suffered.
next one, which You've had a lot of these in between your toes, pissing you off. You've stepped on them too many times. They probably ended up in your nose a time or two. We're talking Legos. Is Lego spelt Leggo? Or is it spelt Lego?
Lego.
Lego. This one seems a little. Anyway, yeah, Lego.
So I have a little misdirection in here. As you see, there's a trademark sign on the Lego that may be there to throw you off.
No.
Would you like to solidify your answers? Would you like to switch?
Howie.
Lego.
Going deal on Lego.
Lego, you're both correct. Sticking to your guns, and it pays off. Lego it does look weird to me. I don't even think that doesn't even pass. So this next one is very visual, but I'll try to explain it to the listeners.
Yeah, I can't explain.
We have a Ford logo on the left with a very classic F, very straightforward, something that you would think of when you think classic cursive F. On the right, we have a Ford logo with the same classic cursive writing, but the F has this weird curlicue little pigtail on it. Looks pretty artsy, pretty fartsy. What would you go with, Johnny?
I went with the straightforward Ford. A
as well, straightforward Ford. There's no curly
A as well,
line.
straightforward Ford. You guys will both be wrong on that one.
What?
The curlicue is the logo that you've been staring at a billion times.
It's a terrible design decision.
It is a terrible design.
Terrible design. Terrible design. One of the weird things about this one is I found a lot of examples of aftermarket parts with the logo on the left. Virtually every part that you can find that's engraved, logo on the left. Official logo is the logo on the right. So this is one of those examples of...
Double.
Dude, logos change so fucking much that it was probably so many variations of F before it's landed on whatever we're talking about, you know?
Totally.
Like,
no.
I think that's a good example of bunk. You know, it's a good example of how shit can be misconstrued, you know, throughout the life of a logo. And if you actually look at the picture that we have for Captain Crunch, dude, I swear on my life, I've seen a box that says CAPTAIN.
Nah, you wrong.
If you notice
bub.
on that box, it says for export sale only.
Maybe it's like a foreign thing, because like,
right.
I mean, like movies
it might have to
different
do
names.
with legalities. Sometimes.
Well, when I lived in New Zealand for a while, I went to the movie store to rent a movie, and I found the Mighty Ducks. And the Mighty Ducks is actually called The Champions in New Zealand, which is a giant spoiler alert, and also kind of fucked me up, because I'm like, this is not the Mighty Ducks that I know, but it was the cover. The kids were there, like the hockey theme was there.
Charlie.
All that. But there were three Mandela effects that completely ruined my life, and I'm going to fly through them real quick. The Monopoly Man. You familiar with the Monopoly Man, right?
The ball dude, right?
Does he have a monocle?
No.
Taylor, does he have a monocle?
Yeah, I mean, I know the true answer to this, and it burns my ass as well. Like, I remember it.
Everything burns
100%.
He never had a monocle, which I always thought Mr. Money Pennybags had a monocle.
I saw it, but then I was like,
all right,
think again.
Next one. The tip of Pikachu's tail.
Oh, is it brown or yellow?
Is it black?
Wait, are the stripes black or are they brown? There's like 3, right? Or just 1?
Is there a stripe on Pikachu's tail?
Yeah, there's like 2, right?
No. There is no second stripe.
Wait, there's a stripe. Wait,
there's a brown stripe at the very bottom, but there is no second black stripe, which is crazy.
Yeah. As someone who gives no shits about Pokemon, I was 100% convinced that he had several black things on his tail.
I thought it was several black things.
All right, now the one that really, the last one, and then we can move on.
That burns
really,
Sarah's ass?
I almost
really taps my ass.
Really chaps
you
my
know what
ass.
really tickles my pickle? Does Curious George have a tail or not?
No.
I mean, I know. Once again, I know the fucking answer, but
is it not?
No, he doesn't have a fucking tail. He's a monkey.
You know what's funny is that Nick, these are the ones that chap your ass. I bet I could find some to chap my ass. You guys don't give a shit about.
Oh, I'm red hot.
I don't know. I can't think on the top of my head.
So the number one that really gets to me, Johnny, like, so everyone that we've explained, aside from We Are the Champions, that one's like, oh man, I swear to God. But you know, they can all be explained away logically, you know, whatever. The one that I cannot explain even after saying, oh, logic this, rationality that, Shazam existed 100% in my realm. Like, as a child, I remember so many times having the thought, why does this movie called Shazam, starring Sinbad, exist at the same time that this movie Kazam, starring Shaq? Why do they exist at the same time? Why are they so similar?
Seen it.
I remember having that thought.
I have seen it. I've seen the movie, and you try to come at me. I've seen Shazam. Sinbad's in the movie. Here's the thing.
So many people have memories of this movie. It's mind-blowing. Even Sinbad himself has come out and said it doesn't exist.
So
time and time again.
I think the whole Shazam thing, and I've sort of debunked this in a way.
You bunked it.
I think Shaq back then didn't get the credit he deserved as an actor, rapper. Shaq is great. He didn't get the credit he deserved, but Sinbad was in everything.
He was Sinbad, the shit.
He was the guy. He was in everything, and I think Kazam made sense for Sinbad to be in it. It made sense. Logically.
Yeah, that should have been his movie. If Shazam didn't exist, so in this reality that we're currently living in, where Shazam never existed, why was Sinbad not cast in Kazam?
Right. Well, I went to Walmart and I bought Kazam because they had it, and I watched it, and my perception of Shazam, starring Sinbad and not Shaq, was literally the entire movie of Kazam. Except the one difference was that Sinbad was in it, and it wasn't called Kazam, it was called Shazam. So that one, like I've sort of debunked it in a way. It doesn't fuck with me as much as it used to.
Yeah, it doesn't fuck with me at all.
But
sorry, guys.
It's still enough.
I've seen a lot of explanations about it where, like, okay, Sinbad just dresses in baggy clothing all the time, so he just looks like a genie. In what's Jingle All the Way, he's dressed as an elf and he has all these pointy shoes and stuff. And then he actually did a TV special where it was a TV special on Sinbad the Pirate. It was like a multi-part special where he did the in-between episode like hosting, and he was dressed up as a pirate, which could be easily confused as a genie. So like I get some people's like argument there, but aside from all that, I feel like I was very aware of all those things at the time. Like I remember that special. I remember Sinbad dressing as a genie. I remember the way he dressed in general. I remember him in Jingle All the Way. I remember that he did Shazam.
Right.
Stone cold. I remember that he did it.
Now, are there some, because I think the big thing, like even Googling, like I just did a quick Google of the Mandela Effect, which on Wikipedia, which we know, love, and trust on everything, is that Mandela Effect isn't actually a page on Wikipedia. It's actually false memory is a page. But an interesting thing, because it was actually a psychological phenomenon that was investigated. But one of the most interesting pieces is, I think, isn't there, Taylor, and you did the research, isn't there some sort of parallel universe theory?
It's nearly 100% parallel universe theory, Nick. It's like so much parallel universe stuff going on right now. That is the absolute, if you want to throw all this rational, like my memory of Kit Kat is not correct, or Chick-fil-A, like that real basic easy stuff. Yeah, sure, I could confuse those logos. But a lot of people are really saying that something is fucking up with our space-time continuum. Something is happening, and we're getting residue or events from parallel universes that are, for some reason, leaking into our universe in our current reality.
So you're saying that in a different universe, the Chick-fil-A logo does not have a K.
Right.
I want to go to that universe.
So let me throw this at you, bud. So the only real explanation for the eradication of the movie Shazam is the existence of multiple dimensions. And somebody is fucking with them, okay?
Someone's purposely fucking with you.
So if you think, like, every action has multiple consequences, okay? And each one of those actions and outcomes has more consequences, more outcomes. And that just balloons out and mushrooms out.
Yep, I get it.
So anytime an action happens, every variation of that outcome could potentially exist in a different reality.
In an ether, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So the thought is that all these parallel dimensions live side by side with us, and for some reason, something is fucking up, and details of our reality are exchanging with details of one of those or some other reality.
So
That's insane.
And I like that idea. I'm going to go a little back farther. I'm going to go back a little more and say I think it's a little more likely that people, humans, are just not as... They say we have, 100,000 terabytes of information stored in our brain.
But we're only using what percentage?
Well, apparently we're using the whole 100% is what they recently...
That's a load of horseshit, Jonathan.
Well,
Show me the stats, Johnny.
I don't have a pen and paper, Nick.
You're fair enough. I'm gonna Google the stats right now,
What's
Johnny.
what
I
I'm saying?
apologize.
Wait. I was on a roll.
Sorry, Johnny.
What I was trying to say, Nick says Jonathan, everything. Okay, so what I was trying to say is that I think it's much more likely that even though we have this like so much information of hardware in our brain, I think people are just forgetting things. And I think that's a natural thing humans do. I don't think we should blame that. I'm not saying there's not parallel universes like the song by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm just saying I think people are just making a mistake. It's just like a glitch in the Matrix with the movie Matrix with Neo. It's just like a that was
Johnny. It's either people are forgetting or there is a glitch in the Matrix, and that's what we're talking about.
Well, I was just using a really shitty metaphor. What I'm was trying to say.
But that metaphor was exactly what I mean.
Okay. Well, then I'm sorry. I tried to prove your point a little towards your. what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is I think it's more likely that people are just making a mistake and forgetting, or just putting. Because I'll tell you, I can't name off the top of my head. I don't have my computer in front of me, but I will tell you. I'm sure I have pictured somebody wearing something that they've never owned, or said, "Oh, you got a haircut." I know you did, but you didn't. Something like that has got to have happened. Oh, your birthday wasn't in
But think
April?
about it this way: in some other reality, they were wearing that.
But then why do I know that?
In some other reality,
no, I don't.
You perceived it, and it's possible. It's just possible that maybe it's not a fabricated memory.
Well,
maybe it's information from an alternate realm.
In that other universe, other parallel universe, I'm sure Johnny 2.0, because I'm sure he's better in every way, so I'm sure Johnny number 2.0.
There would have to be versions that are better. There would have to be versions that are worse. There's every possible combination of everything you can think about.
Okay, so Johnny 2.0, I'm sure also isn't the brightest bulb. I'm sure he's also forgotten some stuff. I'm sure Nick 2.0 or Taylor 0.5.
I mean, there are versions of Johnny theoretically out there that have done absolutely everything that you have, except for the next move you're about to make.
I agree with everything you're saying. I just don't think they're correlated. I think there are parallel universes, but I don't think that is the reason why I have the quote-unquote Mandela Effect, or I've had that.
Right, so I think it's easy to explain a lot of the logos and things like that as just people forgetting, and it's such a common thing that it's easy for everyone to remember it that way.
Yeah.
And it's not a very detailed memory anyways.
Yeah.
But something as amazing as Sinbad performing as a genie
I can't,
back in 1996.
That was the year I was born, guys. I can't really get onto that one. I don't know that.
That is crazy to me that everyone has that memory. Like, so many people have the memory, and it's not like, there was another movie called Shazaam or something. No, it was like, the movie was called Shazam. It was out at the same time. It starred Sinbad.
You have to give me an example
plot and everything.
For me.
I think
that's
the biggest,
so detailed.
I think the biggest issue here is that we're taking something that should be called false memory, because that's what it is. They are false memories, and that's the problem here. But we're giving it a name like the Mandela Effect. We're calling it an effect, and I think that's the problem with this conversation and with this discussion digging deep, is that we're deeming it an effect, which is then causing us to go, okay, so if there is this thing called the Mandela Effect, clearly let's dig deeper and say, okay, well, it's a parallel universe theories. It opens it up to theories, whereas calling it from a psychological standpoint, this is false memory, which is exactly what it is.
It's a human trait that we have, not a parallel universe thing.
Like as a kid, my perception was it was logic. Like, Curious George should have a fucking tail because he's a monkey.
Like as an artist, like a cartoonist, like of course he would draw a tail on a monkey.
Right, because
even if a monkey doesn't really have a tail.
So it's logic, and I think too the Sinbad thing. I think the Sinbad thing goes back to logic. I think Shaq was a big deal back then as a basketball player, but Sinbad was a movie star. He was a comedy, family movie star, and that is logic.
Yeah.
It's logical that Sinbad would be starring in a movie about a genie.
I really hope there's other people out there who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, because I've never seen Shazam. I have no idea.
Because Shazam doesn't exist, Johnny.
But whatever the thing is with Shaq and
It does exist.
I
It
just
doesn't exist.
I'm so well. That's what I'm saying. I hope there's someone out there that resonates with me because I have no idea what you're talking about.
But it's also, and like I said, I think it boils down to two things. It boils down to logic, and it boils down to the combination of memories. So, like Taylor and I, bringing this back from a little while ago, we both actually we're in agreement. We're both fans of the movie Congo. It's a great film starring Bruce Campbell, and then a gorilla that uses voice box to talk, Amy. And we both
Amy,
thought,
good gorilla.
Amy, coffee, Amy.
I want to see that.
Amy has a cat in the movie. She has a cat. And we asked
I was
multiple
100%
people,
solid with that.
we both were 100% certain. And we asked a group of other film fans who also love and appreciate the movie Congo.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
Because I've never seen it.
Yeah, because you don't fit in with the group that appreciates Congo for the movie that it is.
Maybe I would if I saw it, but I never had. Okay,
Well, we'll watch it.
We'll watch it.
But
move on.
we talked about it, and there's a movie called Buddy
Okay, I can
about
get
a gorilla
Fuck.
who lives in a house with a wealthy woman
That was Air Bud.
and her animals, and Buddy has a cat in the movie, and that was a gorilla movie that came out the same year or around the same year as Congo did. So I think it's that joint memory of like it was another monkey movie where the monkey had a cat that we thought, okay, well Amy has a cat, so it's like it goes back to
Combined them.
And the other most famous gorilla that you know of, aside from Harambe, R.I.P.
King Kong.
was it Coco?
Coco had a cat.
Coco,
as well.
who had the pet cat, and it was like a tragic thing for Coco when the cat died, because that was like you realized, oh man, not only does this gorilla speak sign language, but it also feels loss and stuff.
What you're saying is that through all these other situations, I'm trying to make it into my brain how this relates, but you're saying since other gorillas in the same kind of realm in the same time period had a cat, you made the one in Congo. Wait, what was it called?
Yeah,
Congo.
you kind of
Congo
just would
had a
assume that, like, well, yeah, any gorilla that's playing that type of role that's supposed to be personified, it's got feelings and stuff, it should have a cat. It should have something that's taken care of, right?
It's gotta have a cat,
right?
That's like the
thing.
That's the characteristic that we know gorillas can show us. We know they can do that.
Yeah, and I believe in like parallel universe theory. Like that's great and all. I just don't believe the parallel universe theory. And I'm a dude who believes in Bigfoot. Like among a lot of other things that we'll talk about because we're only 2 episodes in. But I don't think this has anything to do with parallel. I think our brains have only have a certain capacity.
Thank you.
That we can only remember so much.
Thank you, Nick.
And then it all blends together because like we're taking in. It's like I'm looking at a pack of goldfish right now.
Snack this mouse pack.
Like
goldfish.
I could confuse that with another snack in 20 years. Just because, like, I remember goldfish now, but maybe later.
I'll tell you what.
That's a dumb example, but
no,
it's
not. No, I'm about to give it to you as well because I'll give you a real world situation. My grandparents, both sets of them, at some point in their life, they have called me. Maybe I just have, grandparents that don't give a shit about me. Who knows? They're whatever. But at least one point, each one of them by themselves has called myself and my siblings each other's names an accident multiple times. Right. Oh, hey, David, I'm Johnny. Don't you remember, Grandpa? And they're old. I get that. But I'm not saying it's just an elderly thing, but in our brains, we have the capability to make mistakes. I think that's what we're looking. I think that's what it is.
Well, we need to differentiate making a mistake and truly believing in this
who's
memory.
To say that they don't really believe
like
my
it was
name
a mistake
is
at one point, but you truly believe that this is a memory?
Well, but that's the thing, Taylor, is that once you make the mistake and you had it, and it's like, oh, that could work. All right, she could have a cat. Then she does have a cat.
Well, I think I think
point.
the big switcheroo here and what makes it so interesting is I don't think a lot of people saw the movie Kazam. If they did, it would exist on Blu-ray, and people would actually give a shit.
Thank God
and
I'm alone.
it wouldn't like go out of print all the time. Like people collectively did not see Kazam. It did not.
This is
Collectively,
about,
they did
Nick?
not.
Are you mad that no one saw Kazam?
It did not do well.
I have
in
this
theaters.
memory that I purposely did not see it out of the hatred that there were two of these movies out at the same time. I boycotted them both. I said, I'm not seeing either one of these movies. But just so you know,
Oh my gosh.
released on July 17th, 1996, grossing $19 million on a $20 million budget. So if Kazam couldn't even make its money back with Shaq Diesel at the helm, I don't know.
But it didn't.
Maybe
like,
Shazam. I don't know.
But like, it's not like, because the thing is, it didn't make its money back, and for a budget that low back then, for like a big family movie like that about a genie, it didn't like, it wasn't like Hook, where it like bombed and did terrible critically, and then picked up steam as like this memorable movie. No, people don't
It's a
have
classic,
tattoos of Kazam.
Can we move on from
But
Kazam? Because I
should
we
can't,
they
can't,
have
we can't.
tattoos
I
of
can't give
Shazam?
any input.
Holy shit.
Kazam,
Chris
Kazam
51, get on it. We need
Kazam-
Shazam tattoos
I know you're out there, Chris.
ASAP.
Kazam is the missing link.
Holy
We can't
shit.
move on from this. Like Nelson Mandela, obviously, like that's a big thing. But Nelson Mandela was a public figure, a person who was studied in history, a person who is studied in school. But
Yeah, there are
Shazam,
detailed records of his entire life.
Like Sinbad is performing stand-up for like $9.50 per ticket. He's not doing too well for him. I mean, like I don't have a problem with Sinbad. Okay, I love Sinbad. I think he's great. I love his fashion. I love his comedic style. But Sinbad and both the movie Kazam are not doing well for themselves. Which means, why would this be a collective agreement that the movie Shazam, featuring a has-been comedy star, sorry Sinbad, exists?
Guys,
and that's
I've
what makes
got
it.
a theory.
Oh boy.
You give it. What is it, Taylor?
Created in 1954, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, also known as CERN, may be the ones responsible for the apparent gap in Sinbad's career. In 1998 and continuing until 2008, the Large Hadron Collider
God.
was built to answer some fundamental open questions in physics concerning the basic laws governing the interactions and forces among elementary objects, the deep structure of space and time, and the interrelation between quantum mechanics and general relativity.
What the fuck?
What they were trying to do in building this 17-mile loop near Geneva, Switzerland, which cost an approximate $9 billion, is to smash particles
Yeah, I know this
at
is.
near the speed of light
Yeah.
to see what happens.
Forever
One of the main
erasing.
goals of this project is looking to prove the existence of extra space-time dimensions, i.e., parallel universes.
They were trying to.
So where does Sinbad come back into play with all this?
Guys, they started building this 17-mile Hadron Collider, which is the largest Hadron Collider in existence, okay? So there have been Hadron Colliders in the past,
But this one's
smaller
huge 'cause-
versions,
'cause
right?
To make particles go that fast, you have to have that
It doesn't
much.
matter about the particles. Where is
Yeah,
Sinbad?
it's an
come in this?
insane,
I
it's
don't
an
care
insane
about
amount of
Sinbad.
power needed to propel these particles
it's
at near the
impossible.
speed of light.
It's like almost impossible.
One of the side effects that happens in this experiment is that the collisions create little tiny black holes. And these black holes are so small that they can't support themselves and they instantly evaporate, right?
Yeah, they
So-
close on themselves.
This largest Hadron Collider is the only one that's been large enough to where they could actually measure some of the effects that are happening, i.e. the black hole that had been created. As tiny as it is, and as minute of an amount of time that it exists. Okay? So they've had Hadron Colliders in the past. Who knows if they have been creating little tiny black holes all over the place that maybe for the 1 second it exists, something happens, maybe not. Oh well.
And something
But
comes
let's
out of
move on to what Stephen Hawking has to say about
Wait.
black holes.
it. Okay. Okay. Or had to say about black holes. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Stephen Hawking. Well, he was famous for one of his theories, which is the evaporation theory. That says that if a black hole isn't feeding itself, it is evaporating. So if it's not feeding, it's dying. And one of the questions with a black hole is, where does that shit go?
Sinbad's career.
Just as a black hole, there is also what is called a white hole. So a white hole you
I
think
don't
of
like that
as the
one.
reverse of the black hole. On the back of a black hole, there exists a white hole.
Oh.
Go in the
it
black hole,
spews-
come out
okay.
the white hole.
That's what Spock comes out of in Star Trek, that movie, right? that came out with that J.J.
A
Abrams
wormhole,
made.
essentially,
It
yeah, like
comes
a
out,
wormhole.
He's like the white hole, bloop,
But
and then there's
one of the things is like we know black holes exist. Correct. They're feeding all the time. They're growing. They're growing. They're growing. But we also know that they die, and we also know that when they die, they expel all of their energy, and their energy goes not where it came from. It goes somewhere else. Where does it go? Nobody fucking knows. Possibly parallel universe.
Why are you laughing right now?
One of the thoughts is what's that?
Wait, what's so funny?
Just the fact that this is all somehow going to come back to Sinbad and Shazam is the greatest
We're going
thing.
a long avenue. We're definitely taking the scenic route, not the highway to our destination.
You take the high road. I'll take the low.
I call top on it.
So the purpose of this is that there is hard science out there that is focusing on parallel dimensions, multiple dimensions, and not only theorizing about them, but trying to interact with them.
Okay.
If it's theoretically possible, if it's physically possible to interact with another dimension or a particle in our dimension, but interact with its state of being in another dimension, you're fucking with parallel dimensions, man. So here's what it comes down to.
Okay.
Two guys are sitting at a bar one time, okay? Somewhere in California, of course, Silicon Valley. Two guys sitting at a bar. Okay? One guy works for presumably Disney or whoever's at the ultimate top of like whoever owns Disney, whoever owns whatever umbrella company. Imagine they own every fucking company in the world, right?
Okay.
So they got money, they got power. One thing they also have, Shazaam. This big old mistake that they made called Shazaam. For some reason, Shazaam is such a financial mistake. It is this weird keystone that's holding this whole fucking corporation, an umbrella of corporations together. Something happened with Shazaam, and they needed to eradicate that motherfucker from the face
Oh my gosh.
of the planet of all existence, right?
Oh my gosh.
This guy's sitting at a bar with his college buddy. His college buddy's talking. They're drunk. His buddy works at, oh yeah, I work at CERN now. Yeah, we're fucking with parallel universes and stuff. Yeah, whatever.
English.
This guy wasn't as cool as the Disney guy in high school. He's trying to impress him.
Okay.
He says, yeah, I could pretty much do anything. We can change the past if we wanted to. The guy at Disney's not buying it. He says, whatever, man. If you can get rid of this Shazaam, I'll give you all the funding you need. Boom.
Oh my gosh.
History. That was in 1999. Since then, the Large Hadron Collider has been built, and it's huge. I don't know, man.
I mean, if only
I don't know,
Netflix existed back then, they could just sell Shazam to Netflix. It gets shit out on the internet, and us not have this whole black hole, white hole theory.
The problem that Shazam must have caused for this theory to work, it's got to be such an insane domino effect of bullshit that it caused for some legal reason. Who fucking knows? But it's some weird linchpin. You pull this pin, and all the cogs go loose, and this company falls, this company falls, this company falls, boom, 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 boom. Domino, straight to the top. Disney's not having that. We're going straight to CERN, and we're going to start changing the past.
It makes a lot of it makes plausible sense to me, and if I may, this is if I believe in what you're saying right now, that could lead to a whole lot of things like Bigfoot. I'm gonna bring it back to Bigfoot. There could be a whole entire team or whatever company.
What?
Whatever,
Bob? What's his name? Bigfoot?
Bob Chandler?
Bob Chandler? Bigfoot?
No, not the guy in the monster truck. If you guys didn't watch or listen to last week's episode, there's a whole thing about monster trucks, so you guys should tune in. But what I was saying is that there could be a person or like a team that literally like that says this information about this mythological creature, people have had experiences of it, and they're gonna now have it with no evidence, or like being abducted by aliens. Like all of a sudden, someone has been abducted by aliens, but then like this company's like, you know what? Nope, now you haven't. And that makes so much sense.
If the fate of this company or series of companies or whatever the fuck is like is relying on this movie starring Sinbad to be the end all be all, like what else is being hidden?
That's what I was saying. If this is really true,
That's a very good point.
Like all of the mythological
Is it
creatures that have been,
possible
like,
that someone is able to pull these strings and they're figuring out that they can change things, so they're starting with really, really basic things, and they're seeing if are we really changing these things? Let's see if the public knows. Let's take
This
a
is the
public survey to
craziest-
see if these things are actually being changed.
Hypothetical.
This is the
Because
craziest
we here in the
hypothetical.
office, we can't agree if they're changing or not.
Yeah.
Well, I
We all
think there
have
can only
different effects.
listen when we started going through all this and we got the information. There's not. I mean, 2009 is recent, and false memory is its own thing. There's really not a ton of information on the Mandela effect, enough to have facts and things like that, because it's just sort of it's just sort of like the Bigfoot footage from last week's podcast episode. It just sort of exists out in the ether, and it's there, and we're talking about it, but we've just started talking about it. So my only hypothetical when we got to the end of this podcast, which is where we are now, is that, do we all have some form of Alzheimer's, that because we're using a certain percentage of our brain, we're just not remembering things correctly, or we are, in fact, using logic, but also potentially molding two things and making them one thing, and that's kind of creating this sort of kind of like brain skip, which could be some form of Alzheimer's. Or it's not that. It is this sort of batshit insane theory that what if Shazam is the answer? It's not Nelson Mandela. It's
the Shazam theory. It's the Sinbad theory.
It is the Sinbad theory.
But there could be an idea so strongly supported through a group thought that it hits a critical mass, causing it to become a complete confabulation.
What a cool word.
Which is, I believe, what you're saying there.
Where is Fiona Brown now? Or Broom.
Fiona Brown is
Broom.
the curator of MandelaEffect.com. She started the site back in 2009, and she just writes about random stuff. She was a con goer. So, as you heard, this whole thing started at a convention, a comic type convention.
She looks crazy.
She's a writer, I believe.
Why do you deem someone crazy?
I mean, she seriously looks
Nick,
insane, and she's also she's an author, researcher, and a paranormal consultant.
Well, let's not make that what makes somebody crazy, because I believe in that shit.
She studies topics related to ghosts, fairies, and alternate history, also known as the Mandela Effect.
Crazy now.
She apparently had one of the go-to websites in the 1990s for up-and-coming ghost hunters.
Ghost 101, is that what it is? Oh, no.
It was called something Mill, like Brave Mill or something.
Hollowhill.com.
Hollow Hill, yeah.
It's the founder of the internet's oldest ghost-related website.
Don't let that shit get. So what you're saying is that her validity is not strong because she looks crazy.
Well, I think that's why Mandela Effect is not necessarily, like, this is what's so crazy, is that it's a phrase she developed, and she's kind of a crazy person. And it doesn't exist on, like, Wikipedia. It's considered false memory, which is, like, that's the logic behind this. But is Fiona Broom trying to expose something bigger? And if she went out and called it paranormal, like if she's like, oh, it's a paranormal phenomenon about alternate universes and realities and all that, no one would listen. But now we're all talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. She does have this thing on her site there. I don't know if you can see it, but it says click here to go to like the global conscious meter or something like that. And it's an ongoing meter that it's monitoring some database that's collecting random numbers. And the thought is these random numbers are influenced by a global consciousness that we are all somehow subconsciously contributing to and also taking from on a consistent basis.
This is actually fascinating.
And it's
this is fascinating.
Yeah, it's like the hive mind attitude. I mean, it's a popular belief that, a lot of people believe in the hive mind or, group thought. There are a lot of prediction algorithms on the internet that basically kind of do the same thing. They take words and stuff that have been entered into Google and it forms predictions based off that. And it shows that is like a glimpse into people's thoughts, people's minds, what global trends.
It's so crazy. But like, I think too, and this is another fascinating portion, and this could, spin off and make this podcast go even longer than it should. But I'm reading something on Wikipedia again, where we get all our facts from.
Credit source.
That it's manipulation of the memory. And in 1974, there were two people who conducted a study to investigate the effects of language on the development of false memory, which it's just crazy, and it's about manipulation. But that's where it brings us back to your insane theory, Taylor, is that calling false memory manipulation of memory does lead more along the lines of your theory, your hypothetical, that is this actually something that does have to do with space-time and the Large Hadron Collider and all of these crazy things? Is the Mandela Effect, is false memory all about the manipulation of people's memory? Is that what it is? Are two things created? Was Kazam created in order to manipulate the memory of people to forget that Shazam ever existed?
I lost you there.
And not only was our memory manipulated, was the existence of that item manipulated throughout time. Not just, going into our minds and, changing what we think about it, but it was physically never there. It's been erased from this timeline,
Which, it's insane. It's like the thing that really blows a hole in all this is back when the E.T. game came out for Atari, and the game was such a shit show that they destroyed every copy and then buried a bunch of other copies.
Right. What?
And then someone made a documentary about finding the site where they buried all of them and dug like thousands of copies of this game up. So imagine playing this E.T. game on Atari, thinking it existed, and then it just being wiped away, like just deleting it
and you can't
from
find
history.
Like your childhood and memory.
Yeah, deleted. Just deleted. Bloop. And then you go dig it up. So bringing it back to Shazam. Was Shazam actually deleted from history? Because there are movies
Holy shit.
like...
What if the coordinates from that Twitter, from that voicemail
lead to Shazam?
Site.
Lead to the pit that Shazam was buried in.
What if Shazam was on the flight?
Holy shit.
It was in the black box on the flight in the cabin.
Yeah.
And they purposely
in the black box.
I mean, the bottom line is that if you were to find an existing copy of Shazam, whether it's a film reel, a VHS, a Betamax, whatever it would be pressed on,
Betamax.
it would be like the answer to something big.
Yeah, if you could prove that there was something that was hypothetically hidden, it would put all this. I think really society as like humanity, like there was somebody that could actually plausibly find something. I'm going to use Shazam, even though I have no idea what it even is. If they found something that was believed fake, but now is real, like everyone thought it was real and then realized, all right, it was a erased memory, but now it's actually real, and something actually, some black hole just sucked it away. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
That would be astronomically huge.
And that brings up another point. Like, if that happened, we would be at this point that we currently are at. Like, how would we get past this point? How would it be proven to us? You know what I mean?
Well, no, that's all it was, is that, like, I guess I can't give you a real world scenario because I don't have a movie like this that I know, but if I'm in your shoes, if somebody brought me the movie Shazam and I was like, oh my gosh, it actually is real, I would instantaneously be like, what else have I believed was a Mandela effect that somebody was literally just messing with me?
But
what
no
else?
one could put a name on it, and that's the crazy part to me, is that until Fiona Broom brought up the Mandela effect, and then whoever said, hey, you know that movie Shazam you all know? I want to find the person who said, like, hey, Shazam existed, you guys just forgot about it. That triggered everybody.
Like, all this stuff started happening like at a snowball. Like it's just a couple of years ago that this started happening. People started talking about it.
No one talked about Shazam.
Like YouTube, I don't know if YouTube just enjoys Mandela Effect videos, but it's like it'll pop it on your fucking feed for sure. There's going to be a Mandela Effect on your video feed, no matter what you watch.
What happened
at some point?
The Mandela Effect.
Yeah, what actually happened for all this shit to start going about?
What started the domino effect?
Someone brought up Shazam as a Mandela Effect, and then
literally,
and then that put it in everyone's head, and everyone agreed, like, oh, I've seen this movie, and they didn't see this movie. And then another point too is that Sinbad actually made a YouTube parody video on like April Fool's Day.
Yeah, pretty
about
maddening, really.
Shazam. Was that
Yeah, it's
someone
like an
being
April Fool's
like,
video put out by like College Humor, where it's
Yeah.
like a found footage type thing, where it's supposedly the first couple minutes of the actual movie.
Yeah,
but
really messed
they
with my
include
mind.
like some funny things, like a Berenstain Bears book, or like a newspaper with Nelson
Like
Mandela on it.
they had a laugh. They had a
Yeah.
laugh about it. But was that, I mean, if Taylor, your theory, and I'm not going to say it's correct, I'm just saying if that theory, I mean, we're talking about it as a hypothetical because that's what this podcast is all about. But what if someone somewhere was like, we need to shut this down. Too many people are talking about Shazam. We need to make some sort of video of everyone having a laugh about it and going, ha, 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 you're right.
Exactly.
It didn't exist. This is funny. Move on with our
on,
lives.
yeah.
Because no one, I am a movie guy, and I used to go to Blockbuster all the time as a kid, and I would pick out a cover of VHS, and I watched the weirdest shit that only exists on VHS if it hasn't been lost in time. There are a lot of movies like that. I did not grow up talking about Shazam until
This happened.
this happened.
See, I have the memory of talking about Shazam and being like, fuck that. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing these same two fucking movies.
Is this
I don't know.
memory
Maybe I was over
manipulation,
genies
though?
at the time anyways, but I remember thinking and comparing the two movies. And oddly enough, that's a lot of the memory that a lot of people have is that, no, man, I remember comparing the two movies together and saying, how could they be so similar and exist?
What if this is a giant
But
social
the thing about the
experiment?
Mandela Effect is if someone is manipulating the existence of those things, we should never know. And the fact that some people are having this rift, it's like we shouldn't be able to tell if it was always eradicated, if it was never there, like if it really truly existed, and then somebody came through and eradicated it from all space and time. No one should have the memory.
But if like this could be, I think this could all boil down, and then we can wrap this up. I think this could all boil down to Fiona Broome wanting attention and basically manipulating, or the person, even if Fiona Broome didn't come up with Shazam, whoever came up with Shazam, that's the one. Like Nelson Mandela, great. Like there are reasons.
Well,
it's a historical event. Someone was in danger of the time. It just like that logically made sense. But Shazam was created by someone, and I think it's memory manipulation. I really do.
What about all these logos?
The logos, I think that's also just false memory. Like I would consider that false memory, and that's why that makes sense. But Shazam is memory manipulation. And I think that's what's happening is someone did some sort of crazy thing, brought up a movie that didn't exist. Like if I told you
It's a really good social experiment.
yeah, like if I told you there was a movie called Dragon World that was a knockoff of Jurassic Park that came out in the 90s about a Scottish kid who summons a dragon, grows up, puts the dragon in like a castle theme park called Castle World. Like
Yeah, like after a little bit
never-
of explaining, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. Kind of.
I'm already seeing images already.
it's a movie because it exists. It's a movie that
is it really?
exists. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
movie that exists,
shit,
but it's
that's
been
why.
lost in time. It's like it's
but
so
it's
hard to
actually
find.
there. But it's actually there.
Right. But there are movies like I remember watching as a kid, like there was a movie calling back to last week about Bigfoot that I remember seeing. And I remember one scene specifically about Bigfoot, and I caught it and it scared the shit out of me when I was like 10 years old. And I cannot find that movie based on that scene if my life depended on it. But because we viewed things differently as a kid, and I think that's why like Curious George, it made sense to me. Okay, this makes sense that this monkey has a tail as a child because logically that monkey should have a tail. But this Shazam thing is manipulation. That's what this is. And I think that's what the Mandela effect is to a certain extent, that if it's not logic, it's memory manipulation. And someone out
It's
there
manipulating memories.
Someone out there manipulated a lot of people, and we're not talking about it, and we need to be talking
Here's
about
my
it.
question to you guys. If this person, this hypothetical person, was manipulating that memory, how many memories? Because I can't give you an example for me because I don't have a computer in front of me. I don't have my piece of paper. But like, there has to be other situations of something of this scale that I can relate to or somebody at home can relate to. And why in the hell would they? Like, it doesn't make any sense. What are they gaining by manipulating all these memories?
I mean, a lot of them, I
say
think,
somebody was manipulating these things. What if these are indeed just small little tests? Like, oh, can I
It's a
do it?
simulation,
Can this
honestly.
work? Let's try it on things that don't really matter too much.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that, man, people actually cared about this Shazam thing a little bit more than they thought. They just picked the wrong thing, I guess. But like logos and stuff, whatever.
So this
Who
feels
cares,
like
you
a
know?
massive simulation. You ever heard of that? Like everything's simulation. Like somebody's literally just like
Totally.
pressing. Like we're Sims. That's what this feels like, and I don't feel good about it.
No, and I think I think Fiona Brown, Boom,
We suck at names.
Fiona B. I think her thing is that if she actually called this paranormal, if she called this something other than the Mandela effect, which is a logical sounding effect to call this thing to make people talk about it. If she focused on like the paranormal side of this thing, no one would take it seriously. It wouldn't have been as big as it is. And I think that's what's getting everybody talking, is because we're talking about the Mandela effect as something that sounds like an intelligent observation. It's not like someone with a master control pressing play or dragging, 2 O's where Fruit Loops is, where a UI used to be.
Yeah.
Well, what about this whole guy that died though? What about the actual like the remember from South Africa? Like
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
Who's that guy?
Okay.
The dude who did all that stuff, and then he was president and changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Let's move on. So what I was saying is that Mandela. So they all believed he was dead. Well, why the hell would somebody give a crap about that?
Because he changed things. He was a very influential human
being. They all
being.
believed he was dead, but he wasn't dead, and then he died like 40 years later. Why would anyone want to change that memory?
No one's changing.
The thought is it just everyone had this very similar memory that he died in the late 80s, which, we're connecting with the time that all the civil unrest was happening and people wanted him out of prison. So people are rallying to get him out of prison.
Okay.
It's all over, American TV. It's everywhere. It's on the news. Get him out, free Nelson Mandela. So it's pretty easy obviously really easy for a young child like that was my age to confuse that with death, but it's a little less crazy. It's a little bit crazier for an older person who should be in the loop to kind of confuse that, but I don't know.
Right.
I feel like that's a logical thing that could happen, especially when he's going to come up again in popular culture a few years later and then again like in another 5 years. So those 5-year gaps may be enough to be like, I don't know, man, we just heard about him. Isn't he dead? Didn't he die 4 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
as disrespectful as that sounds, somebody's death,
Right. Well, I think it's all about information, and I think that a lot of people kind of stay uninformed in a way, and that's what affects the Mandela effect. But this is such an important episode for the podcast because I think this is something that we can explore a lot more when we're discussing things
for sure.
If we're talking about aliens or ghosts or anything like that. I think having this topic, which great choice on it, Taylor, having this topic this early on is going to change things. And it sounds crazy, and I know we've gone in one giant circle because there is no answer, and it's still so new. I mean, 2009 calling this, false memory there was a false memory study in 1974, but 2009 is when we could give it a name and call it an effect, and that's what gets people going, what? And then you throw pop culture things at them, and it kind of rocks everybody's world and kind of becomes this fun game and all this jazz. But I think, I don't know, it's just crazy, and we're not going to go anywhere with it. I think that's the biggest thing, is the Mandela effect is not. We can try to figure it out, and we can sum it down to what I think is kind of the fusing of memories or logic existing, and that we use logic. But other than that, it's just like last week we talked about the Bigfoot footage. It just exists. The Mandela effect exists. And it's going to
I'm
exist.
leaving open the possibility. I like all the logic stuff, and I feel like that covers a great deal of it. But I want to stay open to the possibility that someone is figuring out how to manipulate parallel universes and altered existences and figuring out how to interact. And if that is true, I don't know. Maybe I'm somebody who just wants crazy shit to happen. Man, that Stephen Hawking stuff you're talking about. If we had contacts with aliens or other beings this year, oh my God, please happen to us now, please.
Taylor wants
that would be so tight. So maybe it's just that part of me is wanting this Mandela effect to be some crazy thing that's happening that's so out of the norm. You know,
Yeah.
maybe I'm biased.
It's crazy. The
No,
whole thing is crazy.
I can't get into it. I think it's
It's-
honestly just the brain.
I think, like I said, I think this is going to definitely affect future podcasts going forward. But yeah, like hypothetical or not, like we have 2 hypotheticals to talk about, and they're big hypotheticals. But the Mandela effect as a whole is actually a hypothetical. Like, what if the Mandela effect? Like, what if it's all of the idea of the Mandela effect is a hypothetical, and that's sort of, I mean, that's the stuff that we love. Like, that's why we started this podcast, is to dig into this stuff. And there's so much more we can dig into. But I feel like we sort of reached the end. I think we beat the tar out of this thing trying to figure it out.
We beat it up.
Yeah, we dragged old Fiona Broom. We dragged her around a little bit.
Yes, sir.
We dragged her around.
We dragged Fiona Broom.
I don't want to be a part
We
of that.
swept the floor with her
Oh
Swept
my
the floor
gosh.
with her.
because she's
Now, she gave us this
I'm
glorious
getting
thing
there.
called the Mandela Effect. So, as of now, she must harness the blame.
right.
It's your fault.
It's your
It's
fault.
your fault,
Own it.
Fiona.
Just own it.
The first step of acceptance is acceptance.
First step of recovery, right? Is the first step of recovery is acceptance, or what is it?
I don't know. Anyway, so I think, yeah. I mean, we've all talked ourselves into corners, and I think that's it. I
A
think
That's gotta be it.
confabulation, a disturbance of memory defined as the production of fabricated, distorted, or misinterpreted memories about oneself or the world without the conscious intention to deceive.
And on that note, guys, thank you so much for listening to Hybrothetical Thinking with your hosts. I'm Nick.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Johnny.
Guys, tune in next week for another mysterious topic that we will be discussing that Johnny will have no idea what's going on, where we talk about the weird hypotheticals that revolve around that specific subject. And by next week, we should have an email or something, maybe like a P.O. box, some sort of weird form of communication where you can actually send us your own hypotheticals, your theories, and we'll talk about them on the podcast because
Guys,
we
I
know.
got one little thing I'd like to add to this real quick. Just a heads up, guys. April 5th, 2019, DC Comics starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the movie Shazam.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great week. We will see you next week.
Shazam.